just hearing the two of you and the way you relate in this improvisational way, I'm curious, first of all, how you met originally, and how you feel relationship musically has evolved over time.
It's an excellent question, and one that is frequently asked. Very unusual. Pei-Wen has a godmother whose name is Shining Sung. She is a patroness of the arts, mostly in New York. She met Pei-Wen when you were how old?
I met my godmother when I was 10, and then one day Shining said, hey, she has this amazing musician who plays, who creates music in real time.
She was much older than 10 already.
Before I met Bill, I was mostly doing classical music, right? So we just read music, we play Beethoven, Mozart. So I was never exposed to creating music like this. And then one day Bill invited me.
Pick up your violin, let's see what happens. And she was really good.
I was really scared. I was so nervous.
and I have worked with a number of classical musicians who have never done this before. But some are open, and actually it's quite good if they just listen and can play back.
But not everybody is suited to it.
No, not everybody. So that was the first time. And then I did a performance at the National Arts Club in New York. And I invited a few people to perform with me besides my solo pieces. Mm-hmm. And Pei-Wen was one of them. Yeah. And she was great. We did a concert October of 2018, 2 months after my Super Spronata tour beyond surgical repair, and I couldn't lift my arm.
Yikes.
And I still don't have one. But
it might have affected your tennis game, but it did not affect your playing on the piano.
Well, it did at first, but between July and October, I have a fabulous physical therapist who retrained all of my tendons. This is your job now. This is your job now. Wow. And so I can play. Yeah. I can play. It's amazing.
So the connection, the creative connection was didn't really need to evolve. It sounded like it was similar then as it is now.
Yes, most of the people I've done my collaborative composition albums are well-known performer, composers in their own right. A dear friend, when we were both composition majors at Manhattan School of Music, and Jim was the one who said we should do an album together, and I kept saying no, it's not possible. Two people creating at the same time. It's not possible. I mean, how is anybody going to know where I'm going? Well, I don't know where I'm going, and I don't want to be bothered. But he kept after me, and now I can record an album in a couple of days. With Jim, it took us over a week or 2 weeks to kind of get it to going.
To have it mesh and feel like a...
But that album, In the Moment, that I did with him is still, for me, a landmark.
That's
album.
Great. That's great.
And it opened up a whole world. My world has changed so much since I discovered in 2011 that this is not common amongst my colleagues. I thought everybody could do this.
Right.
How smart am I?
It's nice to have a singular talent.
I'd love to score a movie this way, by the way.
That would be extraordinary, and in some ways would mirror an audience's experience of seeing a movie for the first time.
Yes.
Yes. So, the sort of connect, literally to have the composer be an audience member in that way would bring an immediacy to the full experience.
I have, in the past, improvised to films I've never seen before in concert. And the audience is told that I'm seeing it for the first time as they are, except I start playing with frame one.
Right.
And they're short films.
Right. But no, that's a fantastic exercise, and it would be great to do it on a feature.
Yeah.
Exhausting, but...
Well, I actually did a BBC Showtime movie with Sir Laurence Olivier and Angela Lansbury called A Talent for Murder in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My agent called me and take a look at this. So I think maybe a solo piano score. Recorded it here. The producer ran the reel-to-reel machine. That's what we had then. It took 7 hours. If the producer had his way, it would have taken 2 hours because he bought every first take. I said, "Oh no, let's do another pass."
Right. Yeah. No, it's a wonderful idea to connect the movie-going experience to the composition experience. Here's a very mundane, practical question: do you ever play piano with shoes on, and do you ever play the violin barefoot?
Actually, that's a good question because I actually wear slippers at home too.
You're not in
Okay.
the concert stage. You wear
Oh,
shoes.
of course. Yeah.
But one thing I
Yeah.
have to point out is I've tried to do this with somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
just creating music in real time, but it's not the same as playing it with Bill. I think Bill just has a special talent that he leads, and not just leads us, but he also takes us away with him, to play on this.
Well, because
This
I
journey
think that's
together.
simply because my real gift in speaking the language of music in real time, like we all speak a spoken language, is that I can take an idea and develop it, and because it's very analogous to the spoken word. Everybody speaks a language. Not everybody speaks who has something to say. Hopefully, I have something to say in music, and when I say it, I'm spitting out a whole structure
Yeah.
and a form that is the equivalent of what a jazz musician would improvise to an existing composition. So I'm creating the existing composition in real time, but it becomes apparent and people pick up on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you can do this with me, and somebody else is just amorphous. They don't know where they're going, so you don't know where they're
I
going.
think one thing also you left some space for me to grow as well. So it's not like you're playing a solo piece.
No,
and I'm just
no.
accompanying.
Well, that brings
Yeah.
me to another question that I had, which is, I understand that because you have something of a roadmap, at least, a few feet ahead of you, that where you're heading.
Not when I'm actually doing it.
Right.
It's like you're speaking. Do you know what you have
No,
an idea what
like
you're
like a verbal improvisation,
That's right.
you have to be a listener.
Right.
So I'm assuming that even though you are, let's say, the majority of the time perhaps taking his lead, you are also taking
Take
her lead.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
of course. That's why I often ask her to start first.
Right.
Some of the things she's done are really inventive, and everything she does leads me to a place I wouldn't have gone to otherwise.
Right.
And that I find is one of the wonderful things that I experience creating in real time with another artist or a dancer or a musician. I go places where I don't go on my own. I sit here and I play by myself, and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about the 3-note thing. The 3-note thing is the same thing. I would not do a piece like this
Right.
just off the top of my head.
Sure.
But
But when given the challenge, you rise
and
to
it's
it.
wonderful. Sometimes just really good stuff comes out.
Right. Yeah, and what I appreciate about the improvisational pieces you did previously is that there is no dominant voice really between the two of you. It really is that conversation.
It is,
of
and-
equal weight and equal value and equal art.
And for most of the compositions on these collaborative composition albums, we share credit 50-50 for the composition. Occasionally I come in with a melody, and so maybe it won't be 50-50. It'll be like, 60-40 or something.
It's all negotiable.
Yeah.
Beware. But so I have a question for you, if I might.
Okay.
And this is a really difficult question. We're trying to make a documentary that will inspire people. My background is very strange. I never took piano lessons. I sound classically trained. I didn't go the normal route. Pei-Wen, like everybody else, went the normal route. She's a Juilliard grad. Then she got a master's at Yale. Now she's on scholarship for a music doctorate at Manhattan School of Music.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And so I had the opportunity when I was 9. I was at
Yes,
Teachers
I know the
College,
Columbia University
right,
story.
That's
Yeah.
right. And but none of the advice given by Professor Burroughs was practical.
Right.
So I was forced to just, evolve naturally.
Sure. And you're right in that there are others, I'm sure, who
Right.
have
So
similar.
I want to encourage people who believe that, I don't have a chance because I didn't grow up with this privilege, that's not true.
Right.
That is not true. If you have an ability and, work on it and make it happen, it's possible. So that's what I'd like this to be. And I know that's what the filmmakers would like it to be, and how we do that, I'm not sure.
Well, I wonder whether there's a way to either bookend it or to to periodically address that by somehow finding others who have had a comparable, a parallel experience. And this may not be feasible, and I don't even know how you identify those people, but to include their stories alongside yours in a way.
Yeah, well, there are many people who've succeeded outside of the box, but in the field of music, with the instant composition thing, people I know of who are famous for it are not with us for a couple of 100 years.
Right.
So,
No, but I was actually thinking of inspiring people who are not necessarily musicians,
Right.
but in other.
Yes, if you have any recommendations, we'd
Because I think that's and I don't know. I mean, it would make the most sense if they were involved in creative pursuits, so that you're encouraging artists of all stripes.
Yeah. But I do know when I do master classes that when I sit down and I do this, it all of a sudden a light bulb goes on and everybody, how did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And in explaining how I do that, I've had people in these classes come and say, "Oh, you changed my life. You opened this up." Because the creative process becomes more apparent to them. I mean, all I'm doing is speaking the language of music in real time. So if you want to create and access your creativity, then become really proficient at the vocabulary of your art.
Yes.
If you're a dancer, your moves. If you're a musician, the music, an actor, your techniques. And then the technique itself. You want to be able to develop your technique. So I mean, and I always ask, and I might have talked to you about this when we had breakfast, but the question I always ask is, what part of your physical anatomy is most involved in human speech?
Right.
And nobody says the tongue in your mouth.
Right. I remember our conversation.
Nobody says the tongue in your mouth. So the idea for me is, my hands over a keyboard are like the tongue in my mouth. I don't have to tell the tongue in my mouth where to go.
Well, one of the things that, because I obviously focus so much in my profession with an actor's process, is that, an actor does all of the mechanical things to prepare for a role and then forgets it, forgets about it. So that it's not, so that it doesn't, so it's there lurking in the background, but they then are just going by whatever's happening in that moment. So that they're hearing things for the first time, they're hearing the other person's dialogue for the first time, they're hearing whatever they're getting emotionally from the other actor for the very first time. But that doesn't work unless you've done all of that prep stuff. And once you've got all of that as a foundation, it'll be there when you need it, but it won't be the operating motivation in your work. It'll be the foundation.
That is gold, David. That is really gold, and it is so true. I mean, this is the first time I've recorded in a year and a half, thanks to you know what.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous about her coming out here. Am I still good enough? I don't know. And so I would spend, if I practice an hour a day, that's like torture. Mm-hmm. Half an hour, 40 minutes is plenty. And I'm always doing the things I'm weakest of. There's always something I'm weakest of. So I'm never happy.
Sure.
But I work on it. And then when I actually start playing, I'm free from all of that, and it just flows.
Right.
And that's
that's the privilege of all the work you put into it, And now you can just sort of let it go and create in a very free way. So that's really the joy of listening to you guys. It was good. Really good. Really good.